Radar sirens scream. Missiles streak upward. At 70,000 feet, a black jet vanishes into the stratosphere, outrunning every threat. Those so-called UFO sightings over Nevada were Kelly Johnson's secret planes. But how did a bullied immigrant kid end up designing weapons that changed history? It all starts far from the desert sky. Clarence Leonard Johnson was born in 1910 in the iron mining town of Ishpeming, Michigan. His parents were Swedish immigrants who worked long hours just to keep the family afloat. At 13, Clarence took jobs wherever he could, sweeping floors, hauling parts at the Chevrolet plant, anything to help pay the bills. He was a small, serious kid, and the other boys did not let him forget it. One day after a fight, when he finally stood his ground, the teasing stopped and the name Kelly stuck for life. He did not mind. He liked the sound of it. By 12, he was building model airplanes and dreaming of escape. At the University of Michigan, he spent hours in the wind tunnel lab, running tests most students avoided. He was not interested in just passing grades. He wanted answers. When Lockheed sent a new airliner design to the university for review, Kelly found a problem. The Model 10 Electra was dangerously unstable. His professor dismissed the warning, but Kelly refused to let it go. He wrote directly to Hal Hibbard, Lockheed's chief engineer, laying out the evidence. Lockheed double-checked, confirmed the flaw, and changed the design. That bold move earned Kelly a job at Lockheed in 1933 at just 23 years old. He started as a tool designer, but everyone at the plant knew the new kid had already saved an airplane. He was just getting started. By 1937, the Army Air Corps wanted a fighter that could reach further and climb higher than anything in the sky. Kelly Johnson's answer looked like nothing else. 2 engines, twin booms, a central cockpit. This was the P-38 Lightning. On paper, it promised speed and range no single engine fighter could match. But as the first Lightnings rolled out, pilots started hitting a wall nobody had seen coming. In a steep dive, the controls froze solid. The tail shook. Some pilots never pulled out. One test pilot, Ralph Verdon, died trying to solve it. Others, like Major Signa Gilkey, survived only by using elevator trim and praying the denser air at low altitude would let them regain control. Engineers called it compressibility. Kelly called it a brick wall. Factories kept building P-38 fighters while Johnson tore through wind tunnel data and begged the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics to test models at higher speeds. At Ames, John Stack and his team finally found the culprit. Shockwaves on the thick wing shifted the center of lift, forcing the nose down and locking the plane into a dive. No tweak to the tail would fix it. Kelly's solution was as radical as the Lightning itself. He added small dive recovery flaps under each wing. Deployed in a dive, they moved lift forward just enough for a pilot to pull out. By mid-1944, new P-38J and P-38L models rolled off the line with the flaps installed. Pilots could now dive faster, hit harder, and live to tell about it. In April 1943, a squadron of P-38 fighters flew hundreds of miles over the Pacific to ambush and shoot down Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the architect of Pearl Harbor. That mission, impossible for any other fighter, proved Johnson's gamble had paid off. The Lightning had broken the rules of physics and the enemy's plans. June 1943. The Army Air Forces wanted a jet fighter fast. Kelly Johnson did not hesitate. He promised a prototype in 180 days. No committees, no paperwork mountains, just a handshake, a rented circus tent, and a core team of about 25 engineers and 75 mechanics. The place stank thanks to the plastics plant next door. Irv Culver, one of the engineers, started answering the phone Skunk Works after a comic strip moonshine still. The name stuck, mispronounced as Skunk Works. Johnson's rules were blunt: direct answers, no red tape, no visitors unless cleared by him. Calculations happened on slide rules, not computers. Blueprints were hand-drawn. If someone had a question, they shouted across the tent. While most of Lockheed's operations crawled under layers of approvals, this crew worked 12-hour and 16-hour days building parts while designs were still being finalized. Johnson's motto hung over every decision: be quick, be quiet, be on time. He called the prototype Lulu Bell. By November 15th, just 143 days after the official go-ahead, the Army accepted delivery. Johnson's own private target had been 150 days. Yeah, he beat it. On January 8th, 1944, Lulu Bell took off for her first flight. The XP-80 Shooting Star was America's first operational jet fighter, born in a tent designed by a handful of engineers who trusted each other and nobody else. The Skunk Works legend had begun. A new kind of war demanded a new kind of airplane. In the early 1950s, Washington's spies were flying blind over the Soviet Union. No satellite, no agent could see what was hidden beyond the Iron Curtain. The CIA turned to Kelly Johnson for an answer. His team at Skunk Works set out to build a plane that could fly higher than any missile, higher than any fighter, so high it would be invisible to radar, or so they hoped. The design looked fragile, almost impossible. A single jet engine, a cockpit perched atop a spindly fuselage, and wings as long and thin as a glider. Johnson pushed for a wingspan over 80 feet thin, high-aspect wings that would keep the U-2 aloft at the edge of space. Every ounce mattered. The airframe was stripped of armor, even the paint was kept light. Pilots called it a dragonfly. Soviet generals called it a ghost. Secrecy was absolute. Johnson scoured aerial maps and found a dry lake bed in Nevada, Groom Lake, soon to be known by another name, Area 51. In 1955, the CIA and Air Force built a secret base from scratch. Barracks, mess hall, a runway scraped out of salt and dust. Supplies arrived by unmarked planes. Workers told their families it was just a bombing range. The first U-2 arrived after only 8 months of feverish work. On its first flight in 1956, the U-2 soared above 70,000 feet, higher than anyone thought possible. At that altitude, the horizon curved and the sky turned black. From that height, Kelly's glider captured thousands of square miles on a single roll of film. For a few short years, nothing on Earth could touch it. But Johnson knew, every secret has a shelf life. The higher you fly, the harder you fall. May 1st, 1960, a U-2 spy plane flown by Francis Gary Powers streaked high above the Soviet Union, 70,000 feet up, where no fighter could reach. Suddenly, a white trail arced upward. The Soviets had fired an SA-2 guideline missile. Against all expectations, the missile found its mark. Powers ejected and fell into enemy hands. The wreckage and Powers himself were paraded before the world. Washington's story about a weather plane collapsed. The White House scrambled, embarrassed and exposed. U-2 overflights stopped that day. Kelly Johnson had trusted altitude to keep his pilots safe. Now that shield was gone. In Burbank, Johnson read the reports and knew what it meant. The rules had changed. Missiles could reach the stratosphere. The CIA and the Air Force demanded answers. Johnson's mind turned to a new idea. If altitude was no longer enough, only speed could save the next generation of planes. The race for something faster had begun. A new answer took shape in the Skunk Works hangar. The SR-71 Blackbird was not just fast, it was built to live where nothing else could survive. Its skin was 85% titanium, a metal so rare in America that Lockheed secretly bought it from the Soviet Union through front companies. Most planes would melt at Mach 3. The Blackbird needed to run hotter than a blast furnace, with skin panels that leaked JP7 fuel on the ground. Only when the jet hit speed and the airframe stretched from the heat did the seams seal tight. Pilots climbed into pressure suits, breathing pure oxygen, faces hidden behind gold visors. At 80,000 feet, the sky turned black. Sunsets and sunrises blurred together as the world curved below. Enemy radars locked on. Missiles launched. The Blackbird's only defense? Throttle up, Mach 3 plus. Inlet spikes slid forward and back, keeping the engines fed as shockwaves danced inside. Johnson's rules ran the program. No excuses, no delays, just results. The cost was high. The pressure never let up, but every time the Blackbird returned, it proved a simple truth. Speed is life. Today, every stealth drone and hypersonic project traces its DNA to the Skunk Works model. Small teams, radical ideas, no excuses. As global tensions and technological races accelerate, the real question is, will anyone dare move as fast or dream as fearlessly as Kelly Johnson did?